Hello, I'm Amy and this video is part of my Reknit Revolution project. In this video I'm going to show you how to graft, that is, sew the structure of a row of knitting. You can use grafting to join two separate pieces of knitting with open loops seamlessly into one, but in this case I'm grafting to close the opening that I made in order to create a stitch hack design as shown in two previous videos. You need to find a yarn to graft with that's about the same weight as that used in the main fabric. It's easiest to work with a contrast yarn so that you can see what you're doing, and make sure that your yarn is about 4 or 5 times as long as the width of the opening. Now I'm going to work from left to right because I'm left-handed. If you're right-handed, you might find it easier to work from right to left, following the same principle of what I'm going to show, or you could kind of go in the same direction as me but sit, as it were, on the other side, so you're kind of looking at it upside down. So on the bottom edge of the opening I've got these open loops, whole open loops, 6 of them. On the top side there's also open loops, and they're offset from the ones on the bottom side, and at each end I've got these loops, that one and that one, which are sort of half open. They've got one strand coming out of them, whereas when they're complete they'll have 2. And I'm pointing that out because it's important for the starting off bit, which is the trickiest bit of this procedure. So you need to spot those open loops to start off. I'm going to start by coming out of the first whole open loop, which is on the bottom side, and I come from back to front. So I'm stitching through the loop from back to front, and then my yarn is sitting at the front of the work. I'm now going to go to the top side of the hole and go into that loop that had just the one strand coming out of it. So we're going to go into that from front to back, and then come out of the next door one from back to front. Okay, now it's time to come back over to the bottom side. I go into the loop that I last came out of, which I can see there, and then I come from back to front out of the next one. And you can see that I'm not pulling the yarn tight as you normally would when you're sewing. With grafting you're using your stitches to recreate that row that you took out, and so you don't want to pull it tight, you want to just pull it so these stitches end up at just the right tension. And I'm actually going to leave them slightly loose because once they're all in place I can tighten them up along the row, and that's much easier than trying to loosen it up. That's really hard. Always do it a little bit looser and then you can tighten it up once you've got them in place. Okay, so I've gone in and come out on this side. Time to go back to the top. So I go in and then out again. Back to the bottom, in, the last one I came out of the next door loop. These little holding threads will keep trying to get in the way, but just try to work around them and ignore them because they are doing a good job. So back up to the top, into the loop I last came out of, and out of the next door one. Back to the bottom. So one of the problems that you have in doing this process is because you've got the loops, the stitches held safe on these threads, it's making them want to turn sideways rather than sit completely flat. If they were completely flat it would be easier to see where to go in and come out of. And that's what tends to confuse people. So although they're wanting to turn sideways, just kind of bottom about, make them sit flat and try to sort of see past the thread that's holding them. Okay, so back to the top, in and out. In and out. Okay, I'm nearly there. So you keep going basically until you can't go any further. So I go into the last one I came out of, and I can come out of the next door loop because that's only got at the moment one strand coming out of it. So my red one is going to complete that stitch. I can then go in where I came out of, but I can't come out of the next one because that's already a complete stitch with its 2 strands coming out. So that's where I do the equivalent of the beginning and end with my yarn at the back of the work. So you can already see those nice stitches completing the structure. So I can now give a little tug and remove those holding threads. That's looking nice. I'll just give those a little tug there. This is a stage where if I'm happy that my stitches are in the right structure, which they are, I can see those V's, those nice columns of V's all continuing, I can just ease the yarn through to tighten it up to exactly the right tension. If you find that you've made a mistake and something's looking a bit iffy, then before you've taken out those holding threads, you can just undo your grafting to where the problem is and go again. So it is correctable. So here I'm doing this job of just teasing the yarn through, and again I'm not pulling tight, I'm just kind of giving it a bit of tension and basically trying to get the stitches to sit at about the same size, I suppose, the same length as those in the row to the side and above and below them, the rest of the fabric. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so when I'm happy with that, I can turn it over, and the last job is just to I just do a little simple knot to loop the new yarn around that old one, and then stitch, just kind of run them in by stitching through those red loops just for a few stitches. Just snip that off. Do the same with this one. You don't have to go crazy on tying knots and that kind of thing. Just enough that it's got somewhere to sit for a little end. These green ones are very little, so I'm going to put my needle in place first and then thread and pull through. Okay, I'll do the same again here. Okay, let's just trim that very end of that. Yeah, there we are, looking pretty good. Okay, so there we are with the completed stitch hack and the opening grafted closed. To finish this off, I would just give it a little steam from the iron. So you're not ironing it flat, but you're treating it to some steam, which, especially if you've got a natural fibre that you're working with. It'll just help those fibres to relax into their new position. And so, for example, this double gauge bit of the stitch hack will all just kind of find its new place and lose its slightly odd kink, and it'll be a bit happier. Okay, so that's a completed stitch hack, grafted closed. I'll just finish by showing you a finer gauge version of the same thing. So completed stitch hack, and this is my graft, and there it is on the inside. Thank you very much.